Villainous Heroics by I Believe in Happily Ever After. Chapter 17. You're fucking kidding me! Nimuri blurted words caused a gasp for one or two teachers. Shouta unable to place who they were since his full attention was trained to the breaking updates on the television in front of them. Who cares? The students can't hear me swearing in here, and pardon my language, but this feels like it deserves the fucking swear. Shouta couldn't bring himself to speak, but he was in absolute agreement. He had gone to the staff lounge to try and avoid Nemuri and her causade of causing him to eat a proper lunch, but he hadn't expected her to run in and turn on the news with a look of panic on her face. Shouta had thought that the League of Villains had made some sort of declaration of attack, but instead he had watched on national news sites showed footage of President Mike in trouble. Oh, what the fuck? What the fuck? What the fuck? Is he really risking everything to save a group of orphans? It was a trope only seen in the media these days, but there it was. President Mike, Yamada, was fighting a group of villains that were attempting to steal a group of orphan children, who were hardly old enough to have quirks. He was trapped, unable to use his quirk, and had been outed on national television. And still, he was about to risk his life to be a hero. Why the fuck is this guy such a hero? You are quite right, Kamida-sensei. Nezu stood in the doorway to the staff lounge, eyes trained on the television with a calculating expression that had Shouta half hopeful and half worried. President Mike is a hero I've had my eyes on for quite some time, actually. There was no pause or emphasis on the word hero. It was stated as if nothing more or less than a simple fact. Shouta felt like he could slump in relief. Looks like he won't be anything much longer if they don't figure out a way to help him. Shirojiro murmured, arms crossed as he drew their attention back to the television. Shouta couldn't argue with his view. No matter how the odds were calculated, they weren't good. Exactly. As heroes ourselves, shouldn't we provide as much support as we can afford to send out of the school? Nezu had a sharp look in his eyes as he looked to Nomuri and then to Shouta. His gaze stayed on Shouta once it was there. I expect you two to bring him back safely. Shouta didn't wait for Nomuri's response, only giving Nezu a sharp nod before he was racing out of the room and towards the parked cars outside. As much as he wanted to just run until he got there, it was more logical to take Nomuri's car, although he might drive off without her if she didn't hurry up. Not all of us can run at the speed of light, Shouta. Nomuri didn't waste any time to unlock her car, diving in and starting it before Shouta even had his door closed. Seatbelt. He could be fucking dying right now, Nomuri. And you're really concerned about seatbelts? Shouta grunted as he was shoved back in his seat, seatbelt clicked around him, and a phone shoved in his hand before the car was tearing out of the parking lot. News apps now. I know the area, but not the exact destination. Let our agencies know we're both en route to the destination too. Nomuri instructions were clear, quick, and calm stated, which was more than Shouta could say for himself. He knew that while he was experienced in situations like these, he wasn't experienced with the fact that it was the man he was in love with that was in danger. Sending out the message to their agencies with clumsy fingers, and fighting with the apps for a moment, should have closed whatever news station Nomuri had saved on the top. A burstful of static bursting through the phone before words were coming through. And it seems like the fight has truly started in earnest. I am always one to give our heroes the benefit of the doubt, but the new hero President Mike, who appears only within the past few weeks, seems to be struggling with his opponent. It's 12 against 1, Japan, and the odds are not in the hero's favors. Fuck, Nomuri hissed, the car speeding up. Shouta would have panicked at Nomuri's driving on any other occasion, but now he could only feel grateful. Swipe right, and there's the video. I'm not sure I want to see this. It was a whispered confession that contained a million things Shouta was always too scared to voice. Instead of pointless words to comfort, though, Nomori reached out and grabbed his arm, squeezing tight. Swipe right, Shota. We owe him that much. The words Nomori left out rang clear in the cramped car. We owe it to him to watch. Talking with the other pro heroes on the scene, who have informed us that there is no reliable way to deal with the quirk in question that has created this doom shield around President Mike and the children thereafter. Attempts at breaking the shield and digging underneath the streets have both been executed and both have been met with failure. The footage that was being streamed was shaky and filled with static at some parts, but it gave a clear enough image as to what was happening. The news reporter was off to the right with a picture, the focus on the jade, transparent shield that was trapping everyone inside. There was the bust of movements from inside. Shouta, counting at least 3 bodies on the ground, and knocked unconscious before his attention was drawn to a laughing force with a wild smile. Come on! Is that the best you villains got? Yamada's voice was crystal clear, no doubt an effect of his quirk. It was likely his quirk was slipping where he was so used to using it when things became this dangerous. Shouta knew, though, that Yamada had already done the precautions. His quirk would be of little use during a fight like this. I thought you wanted to kill me. Well, I'm still fucking standing. The last 2 words were filled with the power of his quirk. Not enough to cause a ruckus, but enough for one of the villains to stumble before Yamada was moving forward with a punch that hurt. Something Shouta knew for a fact. The car jerked and swerved past the intercept, and Shouta took a moment to realize they had most likely almost died, but too much of his attention was focused on Nomori's phone to truly care. It seems we have been given an update, Japan. The news reporter was speaking clearly but quickly, something Shouta appreciated considering the circumstances. Our researchers has managed to track down President Mike's true name, Yamada Hizashi, and discovered the specifics of his quirk. I can't believe they're using his fucking name like that. That is so reckless considering he'd never released it himself and... Are you just incapable of shutting up at important moments? Shouta saw Nomori's mouth open, and instead of letting her continue, Shouta turned up the volume on the phone as loud as he could. Devastating effects. Records state that, at the time of his birth, he was able to reach 170 decibels with his scream, a level loud enough to rupture eardrums. While a powerful quirk, Japan, it's also too dangerous for this situation. Other pros are in agreement, from those we've managed to get statements from. If President Mike uses too much of his quirk, the ruckus could hurt not only him, but the children he's protecting. You can do it, President Mike! The cheer came from a high-pitched, almost distant voice. The camera swerved in a ditzy motion before focusing on the group of children that were hiding behind Yamada, but something was different. Yeah, take him down, Mr. Hero! There were less children than Shouta had first counted back in the staff lounge. It seems the children are cheering on the hero, trying to save them, and if I'm not mistaken, it seems they've taken matters into their own hands as well. What? What are they doing? Nomori must have turned the car because Shouta had to bite back any noise at his side slamming into the door. At least the speed meant that they would be there sooner if a few years were shaved off Shota's life. Shouta, are the kids okay? They're fine. Shouta tapped at the phone, pulling the video up into full screen and narrowing his eyes. The children were clever at least. One of them seems to have a quirk that moves concrete. They formed a hole in the streets and are now getting in it. Yes! You go, little clever shits! Swallowing a surge of nausea as the car bounced, Shouta decided that he would not look out the windows. Possible deniability might be of use after they dealt with the situation. Possession of a quirk that has allowed him to manipulate the concrete underneath the children's feet and form a sort of bunker for them to hide in. Hold on. It seems as if the child who did this is saying something to President Mike. Safe. You don't have to worry about us. The child disappeared into the hole he had created, before the concrete shifted, like a wave, and closed most of the opening. They weren't completely sealed, but it was enough to be out of the way and no longer in danger of being hit by the villain or Yamada's quirk. Yamada seemed to realize it as well. What do you think? Kids are a lot smarter than I was at that age. Yamada's smile was wide, but it was dangerous. A deep breath in and a steady stance, and Yamada didn't hesitate. He had been wrong in saying his quirk was a villain's quirk, but Yamada had never lied about it being powerful and dangerous. Just as the villains began covering their ears, the footage cut out. There was a singular second where Shouta felt the world, and his heart was completely still and silent. There was no sound, no footage, and it was almost as if time had froze. What just happened? Shouta? Fuck! Okay, where's the site? Did you find out? Railing off the address that he had seen on the news app, Shouta finally glanced up to see that they had almost arrived. Nomori had the sense to put on the flashing lights that she had stolen from a police car, at least. Okay, we're almost there, don't worry, Sho. Our idiot is a smart idiot. He'll be fine. Shouta had always had a difficult time with words, but for once, for a singular moment, they came so easily. What if he's not? Yamada's quirk was powerful and destructive, but he was in a position where it could hurt him just as much as it would his enemies. He's not a pro, Nomori. He's never trained for a situation like this. With pro heroes, a lot of it was training and thinking of clever use of one's quirk. It was decades of shadowing other pros, learning the business from the ground up, and failing over and over until those fails became rare. Yamada didn't have that. He didn't have the training. He could fight, but he had never been forced to think on what to do when facing multiple enemies, and being unable to use his quirk as fully as he could. He's not a pro, but he is a hero. Nomori's voice was quiet, but it was steady as a rock. Shouta couldn't begin to explain how grateful it made him. With pros, we rely on them to do their job, and do it well. With heroes, though, sometimes we just have to have a little faith. A burst of static erupted from the phone, and Shota's gaze snapped back to it, sucking in a sharp breath when he saw just how bad it was. While over half of the villains were on the ground and unable to move, Yamada was swaying where he stood, blood steaming out from under his headphones, and a few other places on his body. It was the harsh panting, however, that made Shouta realize that Yamada's speaker system was on the ground and broken into pieces. Drive faster, Nomori. At the confused noise, Shouta tightened his grip on the phone. His support equipment is busted. He needed that. Yamada needed that speaker to regulate and control his quirk. What dramatic fucking irony! The entire world seemed to be silent, and all Shouta could hear was Yamada's voice. It's funny, don't you think? And what, Yamada Hizashi, should I be finding funny? Going off of what Yamada had already told him, Shouta could safely assume that the man who had just spoken was the main trigger dealer in all of their other cases, a dealer who worked for the Leagues of Villains as well. All of this! Here we are fighting because the entire world thinks I'm some fucking hero. Oh, Yamada. Why would anyone think I would have wanted to be a hero when heroes abandon me and other kids like me? Is he monologuing? Nomori sounds skeptical, but Shouta realized what he was doing the second Nomori asked. Present Mike was a show-off that loved to talk and grandstand and stall. Yamada was trying to buy time until the shield ran out, or until a hero who can help was on the scene. He was trying to stall, but every word he said sounded like the truth. He's buying us all some time. With these villains, it wouldn't last long, but if Yamada was careful, then he could make it last just long enough. My quirk manifested the day I was born. I gave a scream loud enough to destroy the hearing of both my birth parents, and the doctor there, and they gave me up. The same day. Well, I couldn't really blame them, though. Yamada's stance was loose and uncaring, a twisted little pout on his face as he shrugged and sighed. What parents wanted such a destructive monster after all? Am I supposed to find it within me to care about your dark childhood, then? I can guarantee you that guilt is not something I much feel. Hey, listener! You're talking to the one and only Present Mike here. Guilt Never been a part of my style, you hear? His voice was loud and voluptuous, and when the camera was zoomed in, a green tint dulled his colors, but not the look in his eyes. I'm just letting you know that your little party here ain't enough to bring me down. What's there to fear from you? What the hell is there to fear from someone like you when I was muzzled and forced to keep my mouth shut to prevent my voice from ever being heard until I was 13? Oh, Mike. Nomura, who had bonded with Yamada so quickly and had found a new best friend, had a voice that was filled with nothing except soft horror, and Shouta knew his own voice would sound exactly the same if he could find the breath to speak. He had always known that Yamada had a rough childhood. All the signs were there that he had been abused, but to hear it said quietly and with such venom, it would have been better if it was screamed. There were no heroes around to save me. There were no fucking heroes around to save people like me. There's never any care towards those with the quirk of a villain. People like me are lost and thrown away and shoved to the back and told over and over that our quirk is for no one except villains. There were no heroes then. There didn't used to be heroes who tried to save those lost in the shadows. Didn't used to be. Oh, Yamada. There could be only one hero he was talking about, and Shouta felt like he had lost his breath all over again. I do so hope these words of yours have meaning. Yamada Hizashi, they'll soon be your last. The villains were moving forward again, and the pros and news reporters on scene were dead silent. Shouta glanced up just long enough to see that they were almost there, a few blocks at most, and Shouta would be able to help, and Yamada would be safe. Meaning, huh? How about this, then? I'm not a villain, but I'm not a hero or a vigilante either. I've made my peace with the fact that there's no hope for someone like me. That doesn't mean I'm gonna stand aside and let these children lose their smiles, though. I can't let them go through the same shit that happened to me. So you know what? Yamada adjusted his stance, looked to the villains that were trying to kill him, and gave a smile that was bright as All Might's. If a hero can help them, then I'm the next big thing, aren't I? Shouta could hear Nomura's tears as Yamada sucked in a breath and screamed. The footage cut out completely, and Shouta felt like his breath stopped along with the footage, but he didn't let it stop his body. The second the car jerked to a stop, he was out of the door and running down the street, Nomura right behind him as they dodged the police barriers, ignoring whatever yelling followed them. The only yelling they could hear was Yamada's, a loud, high-pitched shriek that would have no doubt rendered the entire street deaf if that shield wasn't in place. If the man wasn't hard of hearing before, then he certainly would be after this. Shouta felt like his heart was nearly ready to pound on its own of his chest as the screams seemed to get louder. Then the scream stopped, and Shouta felt his heart stop along with it. Shouta was only absently aware of Nomura talking to the pros at the scene as they reached the site, but all he could see was broken concrete where the children were hiding, a group of 4 pinning down Yamada, and the sight of blood everywhere. Yamada was grinning, though. He was laughing and grinning and looking straight at him. He was looking at Shouta. Hey, asshole! It would have been a shout at any other time, but as it was, it sounded like a whimper. With the chaos, it had him broken out. It was a miracle that all Shouta could hear was Yamada's words, cracked and broken and so quiet as he yelled at the trigger dealer, who was looking a lot less calm. The man looked enraged, and Yamada looked happy as he laughed again. Lost, quiet, and broken words let out of the world, but given to Shouta. What happens when your trump card over there has his quirk erased? Shouta didn't hesitate. I'm not crying, you're crying. Ah! No, I can't cry. No, I have more videos to record. I have things to get done. I can't cry. I need to record 6 more videos in a couple hours. Am I gonna make it? No, I'm probably only gonna be able to record 2, 3, I don't know. Ah! Okay, breathe in, breathe out, breathe in, breathe out. I can do this. I can do this. Okay, don't cry. Don't cry. Okay, I'm not crying. I am crying. Oh my god. Okay. So that was a really beautiful chapter, and I'm gonna say this. If that chapter ended with Yamada dying, like this is all, you know, like Yamada dying, right? Kind of thing. I feel like that would have been a really well-written death, and that's why I'm crying. Because I'm really happy that this person believes in happily ever afters, because otherwise I would be sobbing. We would all be sobbing. Like, just imagine this. He finally speaks out to the world. He finally achieves his goal. And, you know, then he dies. And this could then set up for either a really impactful, meaningful death, or one of those he died for nothing deaths, which are heartbreaking as well. So we either go for bittersweet or heartbreaking. You know, if we go the bittersweet route, he dies, but his death caused change, and people actually genuinely changed, and he got the world and he got the message he wanted. He did his goal. He just wasn't alive to see it happen, which is bittersweet because he got everything he wanted. He just wasn't there to win the prize, you know? He wasn't there to seek the reward, and for just absolute agony, it's just, oh, he died for nothing, because nothing changed. And that's why I'm crying, because I'm so happy that this person likes, you know, happy endings. We're also 3 chapters to go, and I don't think Yamada would die. At least I hope he wouldn't. I hope I'm not jinxing anything. I'm gonna knock on wood. Ugh, okay. I'm in tears. Okay. Okay. I'm not, like, full out sobbing, but, like, my voice is a little cracky because I am kind of crying, and tears were going down my face, and I had to... It was a really good chapter. I really did love that. I loved Hisashi's whole speech. His whole speech is impactful, and it really tells you a lot about his character. And, you know, as I said, you know, he doesn't really view himself as a hero, vigilante, villain, right? And although these kids needed a hero and there's not a hero there to save them, he's the next big thing, right? The next best thing, which... That... My soul, my heart. Ah! As always, my raindrops. Make sure to eat, sleep, drink water, take your meds. Have a wonderful day or night. Link to my Discord server is down in the description. Subscribe to see more of my content. And thank you so much for watching.